Welcome to What's My Thesis. I'm Javier Proenza, and today my guest is Gloria Sanchez. Hi, Gloria. How you doing?
Hi, Javier. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for making the trip. We don't really know each other. I kind of know you through Instagram. I've been following you for a while, but I like that you are somewhat outspoken politically. We don't have to necessarily talk about that, but you did mention activism as being one of the things you were interested in talking about.
Yeah, I feel like since maybe even my youth, like my childhood, I think it's been ingrained in me that, identity-wise, I'm a Chicana. And for a lot of people, identifying as a Chicana connects back to the Chicano movement, and also identifying as a person of Mexican descent that is more connected to indigeneity. Versus like whiteness or
I would be a Hispanic, whereas you wouldn't identify with that term for obvious reasons.
I really don't. It actually makes me uncomfortable when people refer to me as Hispanic. And I mean, I'll vibe with Latino or Latinx because I think it's more embracing of a variety of cultures from Mexico, Central, and South America. But yeah, I prefer.
Well, it speaks specifically of colonialism, right? You know, like whereas your people you were a descendant of people that were here before that, whereas I probably came in within that wave of people, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean our descendancies are very complex. You know. Our histories are complex. But yeah, I identify as a Chicana with an X. Usually when it's spelled that way, Chicano or Chicana with an X, it's referring to our descendancy from indigenous roots. My father's side, on that side, I'm a descendant from the state of Chihuahua in northern Mexico. And I identify as a descendant of the Raramuri and Mexica or Aztec, among others. I'm sure it's more complex than that, but in my heart, that's where I feel connected to.
Yeah, for sure.
As well as my maternal side is from the Philippines, the so-called Philippines. My mom was born there in San Juan, Rizal, and
which also huge, Hispanic colonialism on the Philippines, just you naming where she's from.
Yes, right. And it's a trip because
I've met Filipinos named Javier.
Yes, yeah. There is such a shared history under Spanish colonial rule. I mean, the Spaniards weren't the only people there. There's Chinese, Indian, like East Indian. But yeah, on that side, I identify as a descendant of the Bisayans. That's my Lolo side that I know of. And I try to, stay as connected through that and through my art practice too, by researching, my roots on both sides and, kind of maintaining that connection to those spaces or those cultures.
You also mentioned that you had Basque in a post recently. Basque, and which my mom's name is Echenique, which is Basque, and then on my father's side, we're Catalonian. So even within the Spanish problem, the Spanish
there's
country,
so much diversity.
It is funny when people are like, you're from Spain or whatever, and like miss the whole point of like what happened during the fascist period and all of that. Not that our family came after that, but it's the same ethnic roots.
On my dad's side, my grandma or my abuela Margarita, she has lineage to the Basque country, and we know that from DNA tests. And her last name is Escárcega, but also another one of her family names is Calanche, which is from Basque country. And the way I was taught is that the Basque are kind of like the indigenous people of Spain in a way. They're their own culture, separate from
Well, I mean, Franco tried to, I don't know too much about the Basque history, but I know that there's a lot of oppression there, and then that Catalonia wasn't even allowed to speak Catalan during the Franco period, right? So like people are always talking about fascism, and like Italian fascism is bad, but like everything that got called fascist, not with the capital F, was like a lot worse. You know, like because at least, I mean, whatever, this is debated, but what's it called, like, yeah, the what makes like Chile and Pinochet and all those people unique is that they like killed their own people, whereas like the Italian fascists were like more, I mean, they probably did kill their own people, but it wasn't in mass like they did with the Catalonians and the Basques. So like,
and then over here too in the Americas.
Yeah, for sure.
Even beforehand. Yeah.
So it is a crazy history.
Yeah, you know, and those complexities are important to acknowledge, and I think history, you know, there should be many ways to teach history other than what we receive in public education. And I think it's up to us like to have conversations like this.
No, 100%.
Whenever we can. And, you know, educate ourselves, or, you know, in the institutions or outside. Just to do the work.
So then what, in terms of activism, how do you said your note was activism and art. And do you want to expand on that a little bit more?
Sure. I could talk a lot about that.
I mean, we can do a whole episode on it if you want.
Or
I didn't want to put pressure on you.
Sure. We'll delve into different realms, but I can think back, my first, I guess, experiences with art and activism were in high school, in my photography class. It was like analog photography, you know, printing black and white film or black and white pictures from film. And I remember my teacher was so encouraging for us to express ourselves and you know, talk about politics. Like I would say he was connected to like the Chicano movement. His name's Mr. Alvarez. I want to give him a shout out because I love him. And he is very influential in my choice to become an artist, you know, as were my other teachers, Miss Weber and so on in high school. But
if you can incorporate real quick, when you decided you were an artist too in this story,
sure.
like,
Sure. Geez, man. I feel like I've been an artist since I was little. My dad was a photographer. He was very encouraging in that way for us to be ourselves, you know, express our individuality. And I have my earliest memory of making art is sitting at the table with my mom. She's like cutting out coupons, and I'm just collaging and cutting out from magazines. And my parents gave me, you know, those old photo albums that have the sticky sheets, where you can just like, as the sticky part, backing, and then you can put the plastic over it. So they let me do that. Like, you know, here's this for you to like kind of cut out and arrange things, and just that free expression. And I can remember like entering coloring contests through my mom's work, you know, stuff like that. But I think
coloring contest, that's awesome.
As a 4 or 5 year old,
for like a coupon for a pizza kind of thing.
Or whatever the prize was through her work. She worked for a lot of corporate places, so who knows what the prizes were. But in high school, having that exposure to, you know, different mediums like sculpture, working with clay, paper mache, working with photography, and like I said, my teacher, Mr. Alvarez.
So by the time you met Mr. Alvarez, who influenced the activism, you already identified someone as an artist.
Okay. I would say so. Cool. Yeah, my parents always bought me my gear, you know, like my Crayolas and markers, you know, little paint sets. I feel like my family always encouraged that as in the way of giving gifts to me for birthdays and whatnot. They obviously saw that, you know,
that
and,
you were, yeah.
And,
what would she like? Oh yeah, she just likes art stuff.
Get her a multi, you know, art pack with color pencils and paints and stuff.
Yeah.
But
so Mr. Alvarez, sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Alvarez, you know, during that time, it was, you know, during the Bush era and the war in Iraq, and
that one really fucked me up too.
2001, yeah. I can remember watching the Twin Towers stuff on TV in my history class, and you know, we were all feeling a lot as teens, you know, and wanting to speak out, you know, wanting to speak out against the war. And I remember doing like a double negative abstraction of it was like a poster from a protest with the skeleton, like no war. And then I combined that with a picture of George W. Bush's face.
Oh yeah.
So things like that. And I know I explored like body positivity and like, you know, more feminist themes in my photography. Things like body dysmorphia and eating disorders, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also in high school, I connected with a lot of anarchists in Long Beach. So there was this place called the Info Shop it was like Redondo and 7th Street. And, you know, these folks were in college or like just out of high school. And we were, you know, me and my friends were still like teenagers, 16 years old or so. And, you know, they really took us under their wing, and we would go to protests together. They introduced us to things like Food Not Bombs. So, you know, modeling after what they were doing in Long Beach, we kind of took that and brought it to Wilmington, which is my hometown in the harbor area of Los Angeles. So a few friends and I, we would, you know, take our lunch money and like buy food to make and feed to the homeless at Wilmington Town Square Park. And we would like make signs and, you know, kind of just activate the space, you know, in the ways we can with the materials we could. And we would, you know, it's kind of like that combination and including community.
Yeah.
You know, within our means, you know, what we could do. But also, yeah, we would participate with this group called Power, People Opposing War, Empires, and Rulers. Mm-hmm. And we helped organize a place an event at this place called Arts in Action, which is near MacArthur Park, or was. It's probably not there anymore. But yeah, it was nice to have that experience. You know, there were like workshops, like even Sonali Kahatkar from KPFK held a workshop there. And what
was it? What kind of workshops on how to make signs, on how to?
Oh, just speaking, you know, about current political issues. But what my friends and I did was host a space for the kids there. So the people who brought their kids with them, and we just had like different art materials. So just basically holding space for
community events for kids to have like enrichment, right?
Yeah, right. As you know, their parents are attending the different workshops that you know we were putting on.
That's crazy. Mm-hmm. So this was during the war in Iraq, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I that's a really interesting time to kind of come of age and you were in high school, you said?
Yeah, I was 16. About 16 or 17. Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I remember everybody was so gung-ho, but it's interesting that the high school kids were like doing anarchist shit.
Yeah.
Like I remember coming back to the US and everybody was like on board.
Yeah, very patriotic but almost out of fear, you know?
Yeah. No, 100% for sure.
And I can see why, you know, we had the Patriot Act. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's only gone downhill from there. I don't know, man. It's protesting these days seems like the stakes have gotten a lot crazier. I don't know. You were more active in the protest scene back then, but it seems like the stakes are a little higher and it's a little harder to protest. Like, especially with things like the protesters in Atlanta, the Stop Cop City protesters.
Oh,
they're getting charged with RICO charges. Like, what people don't really know is that during the Obama years, he did it's like the defense authorization bill that kind of every president keeps doing. There was one in particular where basically they can just declare you a terrorist now. Like, and you know, so that's what they're doing with you know, people that protest the environment, like people that handcuff themselves, like the what is it, the pipeline that was the Keystone
XL,
they can just say like, no, these people are terrorists because they're like handcuffing themselves. Like, I mean, whatever. I am not that well researched, so please take what I say with the understanding that this is all from memory from like whenever that happened. And
I'm sure it's changing as fast as we're talking.
No, right? For sure. Well, and then the other thing that reminds me about that war in Iraq era is that it's just how gung-ho people are about censorship now. You know, like before they used to have to just, all they had was to shame you. They couldn't just like stop you from talking about stuff. So I don't know. Anyway, it's an interesting thing because I think that they're just getting lazy now to make it, you know, like the powers that be are just not even pretending that like, it's all good, like, you know. But
it's becoming more of a
overt
authoritarian dictatorship. Even more. And like you said, there's no tact. It's just
they say it out loud now. Before they would try to like, am I imagining it? Didn't they kind of try to hide it a little bit? Like, it was overt shit. Like, you know, we all didn't think that the president was running the country, right? But like, anyway, so let's talk a little bit more about art.
Sure, it's all good.
But no. I mean, it's
all relative.
And it's all relevant too, for sure. Like, especially, you know, because that's like you're the one that has the you do activism in art, which I find interesting. We can maybe get into more of that if you like.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think you know, after high school, somewhere I really learned a lot of community activism and holding space, you know, building up community with access to art was through Slanguage Studio, who are Mario Ibarra Jr. My mentors are Mario Ibarra Jr. and Carla Diaz. And you know, I was about 18 when I first started going there to the original spot on Avalon in Wilmington, and you know, just seeing that intergenerational space of art, music, poetry, just very like community centered things, like things that people want to do and have space to do. They really modeled that for me, you know, and I feel like I've carried that on into the type of activities I like to help put on and or be a part of. And just that idea of like access and also reciprocity, like being able to like share resources and having that exchange, you know, intellectual or you know, physical, like art making exchange. I think it's very important to, I feel like because they shared that with me and kind of modeled that, I'm, you know, it's like the next generation, we just keep
it's got to keep perpetuating.
And within Wilmington as well, I was part of a few groups like We Can, which is Wilmington Enrichment Community Artist Network. So it was a few of us local artists from Wilmington. We basically took over different like for rent spaces to produce art shows.
Was this on a pop-up basis or?
Like pop-up and like or connecting with local coffee shops, a tea house. There's a tea house named Hojas that gave us our first space to do an art show.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and just making it open to whoever wants to participate. Like it's not like really emphasizing that it's not about us. It's about inclusivity.
Yeah.
And so
and providing opportunities, right?
Providing opportunities.
You're the one. You guys are the ones coordinating it. So then, otherwise, but that's actually I hadn't. I talked to a lot of people about artist run spaces, and it's a great idea to just do a pop-up, right? That's like a short-term commitment. I had Cynthia Lujan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you know her? Oh
yes.
yeah. Oh,
yeah. I could talk a little bit about the work we've done as well.
Yeah, for
Not
sure.
her and I exclusively, but
yeah. So you are also doing okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm so happy that you guys know each other, because I was literally gonna say that you guys have a similar community. Like it seems like you're also extending a hand out to people that aren't insiders of whatever version of the art scene they are part of inside, right? You're doing outreach to a community to be like, hey, this is not inaccessible, even though white cube art may seem like it, art
should be for everyone. And I think that's what intimidates most people, that they have this idea of what an artist is, what they do, where they show. So it's kind of like deconstructing that and, making or generating more possibilities for everyday people. I think that's really important. So with Cynthia Lujan, she's a good friend of mine, and we went to Cal State Long Beach together. We did the Bachelor of Fine Arts program in drawing and painting, and I also studied art education there. But with our group of, I guess, our cohort.
She calls it that too.
From a few years, we kind of graduated different years, but we established a group called FA4 Collective. And within that, we did kind of similar to what I was talking about before with Weekend. We would, do some shows together and invite other people who are not necessarily part of our cohort, or from Cal State Long Beach alumni, just kind of bringing people together to put on shows. We did a residency in Joshua Tree. So it's cool. All, grassroots.
You put it on, or you guys did as a collective, a residency?
As a collective. Okay. One of our friends, Romina del Castillo, reached out to the Joshua Tree Arts I don't know what their
council, maybe.
Maybe that arts council. And I feel like she spearheaded it, but we all kind of put our resources together to plan it and to actually be there for the week. So we did that. I know we did the Cerritos College Far Bazaar, and that was really, I think, is a good example of art and activism together, where we had like a community mural. That was during the time of the 2016 elections, after Trump just got elected. So we were all feeling...
There was a fervor.
A lot. Yeah, we were trying to find ways to express, the anger, the frustrations that a lot of people felt. So I think doing that community mural was really important. And then connecting back to history, the importance of history. One of our collective members thought of, or a few of them thought of, taking over the locker spaces. So let me backtrack. So it was the old drawing room. The point of the Far Bazaar was to have artists take over different spaces in the old art building that was going to be destroyed. So before it was destroyed, they're like, let's throw this big event. And so we had the old drawing room, which is cool. It was super huge. And then the locker rooms, we put all the different presidents through history. And instead of like a glorifying history, when you open it up, you read,
each war crime.
Yes. Yeah. You read like, all the atrocities and, the real history that people aren't exposed to in public education, like I was saying before.
Yeah. Like there's literally not one.
Yeah, no one is
free of having committed war crimes, at least since the Second World War, for sure.
Yes, a big one that is someone who's often glorified more than not is Lincoln.
Yeah.
And there's this huge penny in Long Beach that every time I drive by, I was like, this is so stupid. Like, why do they have this giant penny? It looks like the Batman. It was from the old school Batman. But anyway,
I read a lot of Batman. That's the first thing I thought of. When you said big penny, I was like,
the
what?
Giant penny. Like, that's probably where they got the idea.
In the Batcave, there's always a giant penny and a big dinosaur.
Oh,
and
okay.
and you have to know why they're there, if you by reading all their lore and reading old comics. They never really address it. They're just part of the background.
Okay. That's funny. That's cool that you know about it. I'm like, a big dinosaur, and it wasn't aware. But yeah, the thing with Lincoln, a lot of people don't know, is that he was responsible for the largest mass hanging in U.S. history with the Dakota 38+2. So
what is that? What's the Dakota?
The Dakota are a nation of people, original inhabitants of North Dakota and South Dakota in the Plains area. They did a mass, or he ordered a mass hanging because of war, some type of war crimes. It's during that time where the U.S. government was trying to basically, perform a genocide on Native peoples. And with the goal of accessing land and resources. So with the Dakotas, the Black Hills, mining in the Black Hills and also clearing the way for the train to come westbound, right? With Manifest Destiny and, westward expansion. So
that's why I always get so amused when people are outraged with horrible things that we do. I'm like, what? You don't, I mean, I get the outrage, but I'm just saying I feel like a lot of people think that things have gotten better in some ways. And I think in a lot of ways, if you just look in the right places, they probably haven't, Yeah. Going back to the FAR Bazaar and FA4 Collective, I really appreciated that we took over that locker space, because it was just kind of like, what are we going to do with this? But so who was the audience for that? Who got to experience it?
Whoever came to the FAR Bazaar. Yeah, it was on for the weekend, and there were so many different artists taking up the different classes in the art building, and whoever they invited, the public, the community around Norwalk, it's Cerritos College, but it's in Norwalk. But it was cool too, because one of our collective members, Marlene Tafoya, had the idea of making it a game as well. So we did this hopscotch around the locker room. So it's kind of playful, it's interactive,
you as a way. Have fun while you're being horrified with history.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, now that you put it that way, but
it makes it digestible. Otherwise, it's torturous.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and I think that's really important, to have a sense of humor. Because there's a lot to be sad about. With even now, in the present day, but we got to hold on to our joy as artists, and really stay connected to each other, stay connected to community, uplift each other. And I think that's another form of activism. I feel like that's where I'm at, as an artist. I have things I make, but I find the most joy and fulfillment with connecting with other artists and creating opportunities. And, yeah.
I know. I'm 100% with you. I feel like, the part of this is me trying to build a community of people that are into this kind of conversation. Right.
Right.
And, No, it's restorative, right? Like you have a conversation, you get to vent some thoughts. I've been having some thoughts, and then but then to have the opportunity, like I channel it into making a podcast, but it sounds like you channel that energy into having a transformative experience of this really negative, realities that we're constantly having to digest and make it something that as a community you can process together and heal.
Yeah. And not only just digesting, horrible things, but resisting, but also there's resistance in being able to tell our stories and make that possible for, non-artists or, artists not in like the art world, the LA art world and beyond, to participate in that creation, like more of a social practice way of creating. Yeah.
You mentioned that you make stuff, and you've talked about photography. How do you identify as an artist? Are you a photographer?
I do a little bit of everything. I studied drawing and painting, but what I really vibed with in school was the fiber department. Okay. And the things I make in more recent years are fiber-based, sculpture-based. I've been delving into cyanotypes in the last, few years. And I get that's connected as a form of photography. And I really like it because it's non-toxic. You could apply it to paper, to fabric. Cotton fabric is best.
So then what thematically are you working specifically to? We've talked a little bit about the process of how you work with other people, but content wise, what is the interest in the work? What are the major conceits, motifs, things like that relating to the work that you like to work with?
Yeah. With the recent cyanotypes I made, I was going to different sites in nature around where I live, so by the ocean, different Tongva village sites, and doing more site-specific work and, using rocks and different plant materials and like picking responsibly or like using things that's already fallen on the floor, really doing it, with respect, because that's the way I was taught. You don't just pick anywhere on a plant. You don't take too much, because plants are relatives. Plants are to be respected just as much as humans to humans respect. We respect all the elements, all the,
all the things that give us life.
All the living things. Yeah. Right. Because we're all part of the same ecosystem. So just, I did that near the ocean, also in the forest. The Hirakupa was the Tongva name for the San Gabriel Mountains. So just kind of like creating
a like lot a nicer memory than San Gabriel.
Yes, but
San
people,
Gabriel.
People. I mean, the Gabrielino Tongva still take that name or use that name. So, and like all our histories, it's complex and the way we connect and identify. But my intention was to create like a memory of being there and connecting with the space. And so I've done that. And also about a year or so ago, I did a community-based project with Rancho Los Cerritos, where I did a call to the community to share images that I printed on cyanotype fabric. So the theme was, what is your interpretation of home? What do you think of when you think of home? So it can be memories. It could be literally your house. It could be your relatives, human or not. it can be like a place, you know, somewhere in the world, you know. So people sent in their images. I printed like almost 100 and sewed them together into mass fabric and displayed them at Rancho Los Cerritos.
Nice.
So that was a way to have people participate, even though it's like I sewed it all together. People still contributed their own personal recounts of what home is. And yeah.
It's not just it's interesting because it's not just, it's a way to represent the community without just one perspective of what home means, right? So
exactly, because when I was approached by Carlos Ortega, who worked for Rancho Los Cerritos, he said, oh, I want, you know, a representation of the community. And mostly they were Mexican-American histories. So it was like a combination of the histories at the rancho, which were, you know, Mexican and indigenous families working there, working the land. And so telling that history, but also telling present day stories of Mexican Americans from the area. And I'm like, my story is only one. How can I represent a whole community? And, you know, there's so many different cultural and ethnic
considerations.
People in Long Beach. And it's like, who am I to be the representative? So that's where I came up with the idea of reaching out and doing like a public call and asking people to contribute their own images.
Do you have any other, because you now that's interesting because you described the collaborative, like generational passing down thing. And then now you're telling talking about a project that actually kind of shows that. Do you have other examples of pieces that you've done that you not necessarily are sourcing from them, but there's community involvement? Because I think this is an interesting, interesting way of working, right? Like you know, you could have just as easily like gone on ChatGPT or whatever, whatever, you know, like, right. So it's a deliberate practice. Do you have any other examples? Because now I'm starting to see the way that you think. And it's okay if you don't, but I wanted, because I still got to highlight that element.
I'm just kind of thinking, well, you know, within my own family, because I never met my grandparents.
Okay.
So through
why is that? Did they pass away when you were young?
They passed away, yeah. So my Lola, my mom's mom, and my Lolo, they stayed in the Philippines. My Lola passed away pretty young, like in her 50s. And when she passed away, my mom brought all the brothers and sisters to the U.S.
Okay.
So she's the eldest. My Lolo stayed back. And then with my dad's side, you know, actually I might have met his dad, my grandpa, my abuelo, but I was a baby.
Yeah.
I never got to connect with him. And the same with my abuela, my dad's mom. She passed away pretty young from an aneurysm. So I think through family stories, I'm able to feel that connection. And by making art, you know, based on that information passed along by my aunts and uncles. I think that's like my main goal. Well, one of my main goals with making art based on their stories is to like kind of have that through line to them, you know, and feel a connection to them. But that's another way I've collaborated with family, you know, in an informal way, or, you know, by asking my mom, you know, certain memories, like there's one of my Lola would use guava leaves for medicine.
In the Philippines?
Yeah.
Because guava is very big in Cuban culture.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Another consequence of the encounters. So in the Philippines, they're called bayabas, well, in Tagalog. And she would use the leaves to create like a poultice, like kind of smash.
What's a poultice?
Where you can smash the material down.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a mush, and then you can use it to pack onto a wound.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So guava has healing properties?
The leaves.
The leaves? Oh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Not the fruit itself. That would be much messier.
Yeah. I mean, they have benefits too. They're rich in vitamin C, fiber.
If I'm being 100% honest, I don't necessarily know what a guayaba looks like. I just know it as a pastelito.
Oh, and pastries, yeah.
And then there was the big like dish that you would open with a can opener, and it was like it was just like a big this thick and like this round of guayaba paste or guayaba goop that was like
a jam. Yeah.
Not even, no. It was like it was thicker. It was like you could slice it and then you would put it with the what's it called? Queso suizo, Swiss cheese.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. Ooh, that sounds good.
Then, or with queso crema with cream cheese. So yeah.
That sounds so. Yeah, that's like at Porto's. They have the guayaba cream cheese pastries. That's my favorite.
That's one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
Welcome to my culture.
I know. Yeah. I just learned about Porto's recently. I'm like, ooh, this is so good. But the closest one to me is in Downey. So if I'm out that way.
Yeah.
But yeah. So. I try to use materials from that I learn about within the stories that my family tells me. So like guayaba leaves. So using the materiality to kind of hint to those things, like those symbols.
That's interesting because there's I feel like that that's also something that I see. Like, I mean, I grew up in Miami, so I saw a lot of Cuban artists, and there is that longingness there by using material, that materiality there. I see the overlap, like there's a lot of art from El Exilio where people are like longing for Cuba, and then but they can get the materials in Miami because they're in Miami, so they use that to like generate the connections. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, then, when like, were you part of any of those? Like, do you do a lot of community projects? Like, are you, or was that just a fluke or a one-time thing with the Rancho
Los Cerritos?
Yeah.
I think that was the first big one that I've done, but I've hosted a lot of workshops. Like Ciano type workshops or like printmaking workshops at museums like MOLA, at Angels Gate Cultural Center. Yeah.
Is that you teach there, you said?
Yeah, I was teaching there for about a year until I transitioned into my current job. Yeah. Yeah, as a coalition coordinator.
Well, then, what kind of classes do they offer there? Because I only know them from hosting the other places I've read, and know that they had classes there.
Oh my goodness, yeah, we have a lot going on. We have dance classes, so like more contemporary, traditional dances like Polynesian dance, folklorico. We just started Irish dancing, or step dancing. I think that's what it's called. We have ceramics classes, printmaking classes. We offer free workshops for families. It's called the Family Art Workshop every third Saturday of the month.
So it's like a community center?
It's a campus, yeah. So it was started in the 80s by a group of artists who took over the military barracks.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting about it being an art spot now.
Yeah. So there's about 50 studios where hopefully we'll expand and get some more space to invite more artists to be a part of the community. But there's a lot going on even outside of Angels Gate's programming. There's like a model train communities. There's
that's what I really like, because so far we're mostly talking about stuff that's happening south of LA by like a considerable amount, like not in a bad way, but I think that like I don't think LA people go down there, so it's your own scene, right? You get what I'm saying? Like what I'm saying is that LA is its own kind of centralized sort of thing, right?
There's a lot of many hubs within the spans of the Los Angeles,
greater
Los Angeles, the Los Angeles
area.
Basin, Tolvangar. And within the harbor area, there's a lot going on, not just at Angel's Gate. There's a place called the Sardine, which hosts a lot of underground music, like punk, have you heard of Mike Watt and the Minutemen? Yeah. So his studio's at Angel's Gate.
Oh,
He's been there since the 80s. So it's pretty cool.
He is a music studio or a painting studio?
A music studio. Oh, okay. Yeah. So he practices there. But a lot of those old school San Pedro punk musicians and the newer generations go to the Sardine, and they have shows not just rock shows. They've had hip hop there. They've had cumbia,
no, what I think is cool is that you guys aren't waiting for stuff to come to you. You're just doing your own stuff, right? It's its own scene.
It's very grassroots, and like you said, being so far away from downtown or the West Side or this area, East LA. You have to create possibilities for your own community. And that's kind of what I do with the work, where I work now. Yeah. Within the San Pedro Arts and Cultural District. Some of the work I've been doing is generating ways for people to apply for grants. So for money to put on their own cultural, arts and cultural community events. So for instance, Lori Steelink, who's, one of my favorite artists and a good friend. She just had a Indian market. It's actually yesterday and today. So small scale Indian market to make space for different Indigenous artists to sell their work.
Oh, nice.
So that was part of her grant, but also doing another iteration of her art installation and exhibition, Gathering Power. So she showed that at for the California Biennial and also in Virginia. And this is the third iteration at her Space Cornelius projects. So they got granted funding. There was one for the San Pedro City Ballet. They received money to restore their mural of Misty Copeland.
Okay. Misty Copeland? Sorry.
Oh yeah, she's a Black ballerina, and she learned at that space, the San Pedro City Ballet. So in her honor, they made a mural, with her. It's her in different formations dancing, but they're restoring it. So it's pretty beat up. Yeah. So now they have a local artist from San Pedro, El Mac. He's going to make it, beautiful again.
Nice.
So there's that. And then we have the Channel Street Skate Park. That's its own grassroots organization and nonprofit, and they created their own skate park with what are they called? They look like big swimming pools, but
big swimming pools
where people skate in. Like bowls, or
okay.
I don't know what they call them. Yeah, but yeah, they made a skate park underneath the 110 freeway.
Oh,
so
nice.
Literally where it ends, and you end up in San Pedro. Yeah, they could still skate. So the Skate Park Association got money to do a Earth Day festival, and they're hosting skateboarding activities, obviously, but also arts related. So screen printing with Calimucho, different art activities for kids, and resources connected to Earth Day and environmental awareness.
Yeah. But it seems like, it seems like a good thing for the community because they're so close, but if they don't have to come over here, they might get enticed to see some of, they have access to stuff that they maybe wouldn't drive up here for, and no, I like, because I'm always asking people when they're when they come on the show, like what their art origin story is. So like I hear about how everyone discovers art at least a little bit. You know, I did it with you, and so it's just interesting to see these initiatives that people have that are gonna enrich the future generation of people that I might, you know, if I was doing the podcast that, you know, 50 years from now, I might might run into them and ask them that same question, and they would be like, oh, well, I went to this thing that you guys put together.
Yeah, it's really important to have things not only for adults, but for elders and also for youth to participate in. So they, you know, they'll maintain those memories and those experiences and kind of carry it on. And maybe they'll do the same. Maybe they'll want to, you know, create similar events or opportunities for others. Another thing that happens at Angels Gate that I'd like to mention is the Many Winters Elders Gathering. So I help organize that. I'm on the core committee. We put together a 4-day event where we bring Indigenous elders from local nations like the Tongva, the Chumash, Hashiman, Tataviam, the Yokuts, the Ohlone, and also like those from across Turtle Island, like the Dene, the Washoe, the Dakota, Lakota, and also like relatives from the Chicano Nation to share their teachings, share ceremony. So we have like Inipi, Inipi is a Lakota word for sweat lodge. So we have that morning and night and sunrise and sunset time. And along with the ceremonies and the speakers or the elders speaking and sharing, we also have things for youth, you know, which is really important for us to share, like culturally relevant activities for them. So whether it be like sand painting or learning like archery or basket weaving, ribbon skirt making.
Is that what those wooden structures are for?
At Angels Gate,
At Angels Gate, like in the parking lot area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are those? So
they are made of willow and they are inipis. They're the structure of the inipi. So inipis are like I said, from Lakota culture, and it's a ceremony that's like a purification ceremony.
Okay.
So people go in
into the structure,
and it gets really hot.
So they put tents on it or something.
Yeah, there's blankets that go over it.
Okay.
So we provide that free to the public for those who want to participate, as long as you're in good health and you're ready. You know, you have to be ready and willing. And, you know, that's really important that's one of our main intentions, is to make things free and accessible. Like ceremony should not be paid for. Like that's people do that, you know, people definitely do that, but it's corrupting it, you know?
No, yeah, for sure.
So, the structures are there all the time, but during the elders gathering and for volunteers, we do monthly sweats. It's traditionally for the Lakota people, it was mainly for men.
Okay.
So it's a dome shape, if you see. So it's supposed to emulate the womb space. So when Lakota men would go to war and, you know, kill people, and, you know, it's a way of kind of releasing all of that and purifying from the violence that they went through, and, you know, murdering or, you know, losing people as well. So it's a way to return to the feminine, you know, or the womb space, as almost like a rebirth or purification. But that now everybody does it. Yeah.
I didn't realize that sweat lodges were about that originally.
Yeah. It's
like you said, now everybody does them. So I just figured there were.
Well, like everyone, like men and women.
Okay. That's what you meant.
Two-spirit. Yeah. But yeah, I think
Isn't there that Bikram yoga guy?
Oh, really?
No, I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, there's hot yoga, I guess.
Okay. I guess that's something. I'm conflating two different things, and I apologize.
Yeah, hot yoga is cool too, but yeah, totally different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more based in.
I thought you were saying that it had gone mainstream, and then that's where I made that leap and remembered that. Oh. But I guess maybe I haven't heard of people just doing sweat lodges.
Yeah,
I thought it was like yoga-fied, like how.
Oh, well, that's another concern for us, with the elders gathering. Yeah. There's a lot of new agey people who, hippy dippy people who come and. To appropriate. Yeah, appropriation is a really, really
that's what I
rampant thing right now.
That's what I thought you were saying when you said it. Now everybody does it, but I didn't realize you meant both genders or all genders.
Yeah,
welcome.
Mm-hmm, definitely, yeah. So there's co-ed, or the way I learned is women identifying and men identifying separate. Yeah. That's how I prefer to do it, honestly. Yeah, but I mean, I'm open to wherever it's at. Huh? Yeah, I'll just go with the flow.
Yeah,
but yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I had seen those structures and had not, and had someone had told me that they were for the for that gathering in particular, and then now I realized, basically, I was not clear on what their function was, but because they're low to the ground, right? They are
they're not that tall.
You couldn't stand in one.
No, you don't stand, you sit. You crawl in and you sit. And that's a good point, that not a lot of people know what that is. And oftentimes, since I'm there more on Angels Gate campus now, I see people letting their kids use it like a jungle gym or something. You got to kind of check them in a cordial way, taking it as a moment to educate people rather than just rah, don't do that, because that's not what it's about. It's about inclusivity and having those difficult conversations, right? Yeah. Because we're all, we're all here. We're all trying to do our best, and sometimes we just don't know. So just
breaking that ignorance is important. Right?
Just sharing and being open to have conversations that could go really well or maybe not. Depending on how people react. But I think we do a really good job of that with. We have field trips at Angels Gate, so we connect with different schools in LAUSD, some in Long Beach Unified as well, and homeschool groups to come and visit the gallery. So we do a little bit of gallery education, which is cool because a lot of the youth, it's their first time in an art space. So making them feel comfortable and feel ownership, feel that they can access those spaces and so in a way, it might build them up to going to these bigger institutions and to feel welcome and I could be here too, I can enjoy all this.
Or to even become aware that they're there, because I mean, unless someone tells you art galleries exist, it's not something that's intuitively there, so you come across something small and you're like, wait, what is this? And then your mom tells you, oh, there's LACMA, we can take you to LACMA, or something like that. No, all of this stuff is really important, right? And accessibility, I'm with you on that. Is there, we're about to wrap up, but is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you mentioned something about? I feel like we kind of covered everything that you noted, but if you wanna add something that maybe you're gonna regret not saying later while you have this opportunity, if you don't, that's fine too. This is just how I wrap up.
Okay. Well, I think just to relay the importance of being an artist is a privilege, and we need to check our privileges and be aware of how we can share, and really, I like that word cross-pollinating versus networking. Networking feels so like rigid and like, I don't know, cross-pollinating was something I heard from a colleague, and I'm like, that sounds really cool. Like, really illustrating that we're here to help each other. Like, we're a community, even though like we might not know each other face to face till now, like us, but just like making those opportunities available. Like if you see something that like an artist call that might resonate with a fellow artist, like shoot it to them. Like don't gatekeep. Like I'm like, I'm not about that. And I just really try to encourage others to be that way and like share resources, build people up, like talk good about people when they're not in the room. Like that's how we help each other thrive and, maybe have access to new opportunities to grow. So, yeah.
No, I think that I mean, I definitely think that that's the sense that I got from our conversation, and and that resonates with me, I like that. I like what you're saying. Anything that we can promote for you, anything that you have coming up, we can also promote your Instagram, websites, anything like that. This is the shameless marketing section.
Sure, why not? Well, I just want to shout out, thank you to Oscar Tuazin, who's a artist I look up to, and he's really about the values we were discussing, like collaborating with Indigenous communities and through his.
Should I have him on? If introduce me, and I'll try to have him on.
Okay, yeah. I think he used to live here, but he's
I can do
outside
it
of LA. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe that would be good. But I just want to shout him out and say thank you. He's including me in a book about the Los Angeles Water School, which was his home base for a long time in the Boyle Heights area. And he was creating sustainable housing structures that he's taken to different reservations. So they're,
That's very cool.
wooden structures, and then they have a big basin to collect rainwater.
Cool.
So just making, things accessible again.
Nice.
But that, and then I'll be on a panel at Cal State Long Beach. I was invited by Felicia Montes from Mujeres de Maíz to be part of art and activism panel with Linda Vallejo and my elder Tony Portillo and other alumni. I'm not sure who else is included so far, but I'm really looking forward to that on May 2nd at Cal State Long Beach. Yeah.
May 2nd. That's 2 days before my birthday.
Oh, okay. Taurus. All right. Gemini.
Gemini. Okay. Yeah, okay. Good to know. So June.
June 8th.
June 8th. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Those are the only ones I know. I'm not like a scholar of zodiac where you tell me.
Neither am I.
It's just literally because we're neighbors.
I have friends who are. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. But it's fun. It's interesting. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for talking to me. And, I definitely like to keep it a little saucy in terms of politics here. And I appreciate you for bringing that,
I appreciate that too. We need to have these conversations. Like, I'm sick of like willful ignorance and people just like, walking around with their tail between their legs. Like, what's the point? What's the point of being human?
All right. Well, and if you guys enjoyed the conversation, subscribe, rate us 5 stars on your podcasting platforms of choice. And we'll be back next week with another guest and another artist that may or may not be art related. Wait, and another topic. We'll be back with another guest. No, the guests are always art related. We'll be back next week with another guest and another topic that may or may not be art related.